So, welcome everybody back to Christian Runners UK video. And again, I'm excited for this. We've got a brand new Christian runner. So we're going to meet him, and his name's Peter. How are you doing, Peter Wooding? Is that right?
That's right. I like the idea of brand new. It makes me sound a lot younger than I am, but yeah, so pleased to be part of Christian Runners and
Fantastic.
learning a bit more about it. Very excited.
So, first question: how did you find out about us? How did you sort of want to get to know about us?
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit bad I've been a journalist for 26 years, and yet I'd never heard of Christian Runners before until, like so many people, discovered you through Songs of Praise and the wonderful Reverend Kate Botley. I've met her before. I interviewed her a few years ago. Right. Wonderful lady, and I was just so impressed with what you guys are doing, and having been a runner myself for so many years, I was just really excited to hear about what you do.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, over the last few weeks, we've been on Songs of Praise. It's gone crazy, you know what I mean? Our the website, our shop, Facebook group, it's been such a blessing. And when they first contacted me, Songs of Praise, the first thing I said is, I can't sing. They were like, no, you don't have to sing. We just want to know about Christian Runners UK. But no, it's absolutely great to meet you, Peter. And obviously, you've told me a little bit about yourself, and we want to tell everybody about you. But first of all, are you married? Have you got kids?
Yes, I'm very blessed. I've been married coming up to 30 years in June this year. It was wonderful how I met my wife, because I grew up primarily in Surrey and then moved to California when I was 14 in the early 80s, and then just felt a calling to ministry and to move back to the UK in 1990. Joined a group called Youth with a Mission, and God was speaking to my wife at the same time. She was living in Prestatyn in North Wales, so she joined YWAM in Derby. I was with YWAM in Birmingham, and God just brought us together. And celebrating 30th anniversary in June, we have 3 grown-up beautiful daughters. 2 of them got married in lockdown. I can't believe it. And our youngest daughter has been following in our footsteps. She has been in YWAM, and she's also started running some half marathons with me, which I'm really excited about.
That's fantastic. So I bet it was always a rush for the bathroom then in your house with four ladies.
Oh yeah, I've spent a lot of hours waiting, not just to get to the bathroom, but to be taxi dad, taken to school or work. So it's been a real blessing to have 3 wonderful daughters.
So is your wife Welsh then? She's from Wales?
Yes, she speaks Welsh. She often uses Welsh at Christmas time when she doesn't want me to know what she's talking about when she's bought me presents. So, and she's a teaching assistant.
All right, my wife's exactly the same. She's a teaching assistant, a nursery nurse. So oh, fantastic. So where exactly do you live then, did you say?
So we live in a town called Buckley, so it's just across the border. Closest city, I guess, is Chester, or we're quite close to Wrexham.
All right, fantastic, brilliant. So, sort of, what kind of sort of job do you do then? I know you sort of done a bit of everything, but sort of, what would you say is your main sort of job?
I guess the 2 threads in my life and my family have been missionary work and media. So I almost call myself a media missionary. So after I joined YWAM, after 5 years, I felt a calling back to journalism, which I'd studied in college. I started out as what's called a sub-editor at the Chester Chronicle newspaper. And then I started working for UCB Radio. People are familiar with United Christian Broadcasters. I was their news editor, commuting from North Wales to Stoke every day. And then in 2008, I took the bold step to become a freelance journalist, primarily video journalism. And so that's been about 13 years. And yet UCB can't seem to get rid of me. I'm freelancing for them a few days a week. People can hear me sometimes in the afternoon reading the news. I also work for a Christian video news service called the Global News Alliance. So that's a large part of my work, is looking for God stories around the world, for Christian television stations. I write for Christian magazines as well. So it's great to have the variety of print, radio, and journalism. And then showing my age, I'm 53, still learning social media, but I guess a lot of my work is doing Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now, I've had to learn Zoom in the last few years.
Wow, what a busy man! Absolutely brilliant. And we're the same age, so we've got something in common anyway. So
wow,
young 53-year-olds. No, that's amazing in it. And obviously you've been all over the world, haven't you, with your work too, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's such a privilege to get to see what God is doing around the world. And another group I work for, I forgot to mention, is a charity called Mercy Project. So I'm regularly traveling to Ukraine, to Georgia, to Kosovo. We do sponsorship for families. We do camps, and with Russia and Ukraine in the news a lot. We minister a lot in East Ukraine. I've been into the war zone several times, and it's great to be able to take my camera, my smartphone, and report on what this charity is doing there as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's just amazing. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, how God is working all around the world, you know what I mean? And obviously you've seen it there, you know what I mean? I mean, I haven't moved much away from Leeds, really, in West Yorkshire. So I haven't seen that.
One of the things I love doing is because I've been to so many countries around the world, is to go out for an early morning run. So I can say I've ran in Jerusalem and in different places in Africa. It's always a novelty because in these areas people don't go out jogging in very remote places. But I love doing that, and also good to stay fit when you're traveling a lot.
I think a lot of these countries, when they see people running, they must always think that must be a British guy or a British lady, because they're only the crazy ones that go out running.
Well, it's great because you get to see places you wouldn't normally see if you're being driven around everywhere to go all the highways and byways and back streets. I remember I was out running in India and it was so hot. I only managed a few miles and I almost ran into a cow. Because they're sacred, aren't they, in India? And I nearly ran into a cow on the side of the road.
Yeah, the only sort of the farthest place I've been, I went and helped in a orphanage in Tanzania for 2.5 weeks, and I did do a few little runs there, and I've got a really good story, but that's for another day. Because there's certain places you can run and you're safe, and there's certain places you shouldn't go. And me being me, I thought, well, I might just go to that place that I shouldn't go, but that's another story.
Tanzania was where I went on one of my very first mission trips with YWAM way back in 1989. It's a beautiful country.
Oh, beautiful. That's stunning. Right, so let's talk a little bit about your running then. So have you been running from a young age, or is it something new to you?
Yeah, I always loved running in my school athletics competitions. I grew up in Surrey. I was a member of Walton Athletics Club, and used to do the 3,000 meters and the 1,500. I always loved the middle distance running, and I ran for my school cross country team. But I think I really got the bug in 1996 when I ran my first London marathon. I say run. I probably walked and ran most of it. It took me over 6 hours, but just that feeling to cross, if any of your members have completed London Marathon, that feeling of crossing the line at the Mall from Buckingham Palace is just overwhelming. And I've kept my treasured T-shirt from it's looking a bit scraggy now. That's my 1996 London Marathon T-shirt. So that's when I really got the bug. I've since I've done so many, I lose track. I don't know about yourself. I always try to keep a file of all my running numbers and medals. But I think I've done 23 full marathons and about 60 half marathons. I think the craziest running challenge I ever took on, which I don't advise, was the Doncaster 24-hour track run. I don't know if you've heard of these 24-hour track runs.
Well, you need to speak to a lady called Pam Story, who was a Christian runner. She's in the 70s. I've interviewed her, so you can watch back on one of her interviews. And she organises a 12 or 24-hour race. But Yeah, she keeps trying to get me to do it. So have you done one then?
Yeah, I did. I've done it twice. I did one in California when I was living there, and I did that because you can do them as a relay, which is much better. So we were a two-man relay team.
Yeah.
I gave up after 43 miles. The other guy was like one of these ultra runners. He managed 100 miles.
Wow.
But then I thought I'll try it again. So I did it solo in Doncaster.
Yeah.
And every hour, the only variety is they go from clockwise to anti-clockwise on the track. But that's it. It just goes, you go crazy.
No, Doncaster's not far from me. So you probably went to, I think it's the Dorothy Hyman Stadium. I think it was.
I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought my poor wife along with me, and my eldest daughter was about 1 at the time. So we had a little tent on the side of the track, and they could just hear the thud, thud, thud going on the track side all night.
Fantastic. You know something, saying what I mentioned, I've got something in common with the same age, but believe it or not, I actually ran the 1996 marathon too. And
wow.
You might not have noticed me because I wasn't dressed like this. I was dressed as a clown and I was juggling all the way around. So you might have seen something in some of the papers, but yeah, so I was one of those crazy people in fancy dress and juggling. And
that's what I love about. I love about the London Marathon.
Brilliant.
The eccentricity. I think, you know, the guys that dress as rhinos. I think the craziest is the guys that run with a washing machine or a fridge on their back. I think the funniest one was the guy that ran with a ladder so he could climb the wall.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So I've got jotted down here. So your fastest time, is this right? 3 hours, 57 minutes for a marathon.
Oh yeah, I wish I could get close to that again. That was the Stratford Marathon.
Yeah,
which is a really nice marathon, challenging. But yeah, that was when I was a lot younger in my 30s. So that was when I was really at my peak. So I'm so pleased I could say at least once I did a sub 4-hour marathon.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing for anybody who's watching this to do anything like that. It requires training. You can't just go out and do a marathon like that unless you're a superhuman. But you have to put training in, don't you? And I'm sure you did a lot for that.
It's all about gradually increasing, because if you'd told me, you know, back in '96 to just run a marathon straight off.
Yeah.
So I started with a 5K, then a 10K, then a half marathon, then a 20 miler, did the Stafford 20 miler, which was the tough one. And it's all about that weekend long run, just adding a mile, 10% each week is what it's all about. But I love these guys, the pacers. I don't know how on earth they know how to run at that pace. They just get into a zone. But I just love those guys because you just stick behind them and they know how to just go steady, because you see these guys sprint out at the beginning, you know they're not gonna last. It's all about just that steady pace.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I have been a pacer myself, so I do know what it's like pacing, and it's a privilege to do it, because to see people achieve whatever the time they want to achieve, it's just so touching. It's just, you feel so proud that you've helped somebody achieve something they've tried to do, but you're clock watching all the time. You're just watching and trying to get the pace right, and it's not easy.
I guess when we started out, you didn't have these Garmin watches that can keep your pace going either.
You just had to go through each mile and think, right, 7-minute mile in, I'm on target. You know what I mean? You just had to do that. That's the only thing you could do. But you've done quite a few half marathons too, is that right?
Yeah, when you said 7-minute miling, I thought, well, I wish I could do that again. But somehow my personal best was the Chester half marathon, an hour 35 minutes. I'm happy if I can do sub 2 hours now, or even 2 hours 10. I guess it depends. My favorite half marathon, but you know, you can never get a fast one, but the wonderful blessing of living in North Wales is the Conway half marathon. If anyone gets a chance to do that, it's the most scenic half marathon, but you gradually run around the Great Orme and it just goes on for miles and miles. But the scenery is just stunning.
It's lovely, Wales. You know what I mean? I haven't been much. I've only ever done one race in Wales, and that was something called Race to Train from I can't even remember the town now. It's
Yeah,
an
I've
old
always
steam
wanted to
train.
do that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've got to try to beat the train basically, and it's about 14-mile race, something like that, and kids, and that was brilliant. That was really good fun.
The one that I've avoided, but I've got to try it sometime, is Snowdon.
Yeah.
Either marathon or half marathon. I was going up Snowdon the easy way on the train once, and I saw people doing a race up Snowdon, and that is just crazy.
You might have seen me, because I actually have done the Snowdon twice, the marathon.
Wow.
And I've done 20 marathons myself, and I've done 14 Londons, and I've done Snowdonia twice. But I've got to say, London's brilliant for what London is with the crowds, but Snowdonia Marathon, for the scenery, breathtaking. It's one of my top marathons. It's not easy, but absolutely breathtaking. God's creation, amazing.
And I think one of the most unique full marathons I've done is I've done the LA Marathon about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And we even had Muhammad Ali start the race one time, and he waved at me. That was incredible. What I love about the LA Marathon is the diversity of the areas that you run through, from like Chinatown, Koreatown, the Hispanic town. You run down Hollywood Boulevard. So that was an unusual one. I've always wanted to do New York, but I've never managed to get to that one.
Yeah, I'm saying I'd like to do that, but yeah, fantastic. So do you sort of, what type of running do you do now then, Peter? Are you doing like local park runs, or just, are you training for anything?
I've never actually done a park run. I really want to try one. I can't. I know.
Oh, what? Where have you been?
Yeah, I know. I guess because I run longer distances, so I like to run a bit further. So I've really enjoyed doing half marathons. I guess at my age, I'm prone to injury. I need to be more disciplined with my stretching, really. I think that's part of my problem. So my age, so I was supposed to do the Liverpool Rock and Roll Marathon a few months ago, and I then got a calf strain, but I recovered from that, so I was able to downgrade to the Liverpool half marathon, and then the calf strain came back again 2 days before. So I instead did the Conway half marathon, was the last one I did last November, and I'm hoping to do the Heaton Park half marathon in a few weeks' time in Manchester, but I'm hearing that's quite a hilly one. So half marathons. What would be absolutely amazing is myself and my youngest daughter have entered for London Marathon this year. We'll find out in February. That would be amazing to run it with my daughter.
You know what I mean? That's one of my dreams too, is to run with some of my kids. I've got 5 children, 3 boys, 2 girls, and my youngest son, he's sort of he's a CrossFitter, so he does stupid lifting, but he runs too. And my youngest daughter runs a bit, so I mean, that's sort of one of my dreams, is to be able to run a marathon with one of my children.
Well, the first time we did Chester Half Marathon together, and she went ahead of me, and then I caught her up at mile 8, and then just in the last 100 meters, she just sprinted ahead of me and it embarrassed her dad. I couldn't believe it.
Probably what my kids would do too. They'd be like, "Get away, Dad." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you need to try park runs. They're smart. They're not as long, obviously, and it might just get your strength up in your calf and your legs, and but they're a great. I find they're a great place to witness. You know what I mean? Wearing the t-shirt and running, and you can at park runs on your profile. Obviously, you've got your name, and when you've done a race, it'll tell you your time. But at the side is your club, so you can put anything. And obviously, we've got Christian Runners UK, and that links straight to our website. So if people wonder who's this Peter Woodin, you know what I mean? There's a Christian Runner UK, and then they'll find out about us. So yeah, I'd strongly recommend have a go at one.
I will do, definitely.
Yeah, we hooked Richard Pidgley, a minister from in Birmingham. I went there a few weeks ago, and I got him into parkrun, and he absolutely loves it now. He thinks it's amazing. But yeah, I recommend it. Absolutely recommend it. Yeah. So so it sounds like you've done absolutely loads running, and you're still doing, which is fantastic. But one question I like to ask people: why do you run? Why?
It's a good question, isn't it? Because I've done it for so long, and I'm always entering the next race. I think, particularly in the last few years with the lockdown, this is the one thing that just helped me with my mental well-being and just feeling satisfied. So, it was heartbreaking not to be able to go to races in person when we had restrictions. So I started doing some virtual challenges. I did the Land's End to John O'Groats challenge, and I'd never heard of it before. What an amazing idea that you log your miles on Garmin or Strava or whatever, and then it shows you on the map where you are, and then you get a bit competitive because it tells you where you are ranked in the race. I mean, one guy finished it in like 3 or 4 days. I couldn't believe it. So I did that one in about 2 months, and then I did the Mount Everest virtual challenge, where it's your elevation, which is about nearly 20,000 feet. It helps living in North Wales. I ran up Mulbama a few times, which was fun. But I think it's all about that great feeling of satisfaction when you've been out on a run, and I just love the atmosphere at races as well, and it just keeps me fit. I love playing football as well, but again, at my age, I get too competitive. I'm always injuring myself, whereas with running, you can kind of look after yourself a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done some charity work too, haven't you? Been cycling, riding your bike.
Yeah, that was the great thing when I was full-time with UCB, is I was able to take on bike challenges for charity, but do it in my work time, because I would be broadcasting. Mobile phones had only just come out in the late 90s, so I would do the updates. I'd get off the bike, obviously, to do an update, but the first one I did was in China, which was incredible, from the Great Wall of China to Tiananmen Square. An amazing experience. So then I did Land's End to John O'Groats. That took 2 weeks. And what I loved about that one is we did like a UCB roadshow. So we toured with Dave and Pat Bilbrough. If you heard of Dave and Pat Bilbrough, the worship leader. So we would sleep on the floor in church halls, but they would do a concert every night at the church that we were staying at. So that was fun. And then I did the island end to end from Portrush to Cove. And then twice I've done the coast to coast bike challenge, but I always seem to go back to running. I just prefer just to put your running shoes and get out. I'm not much of a mechanical person, so to always have to fix the bike and pump up the tires is always a bit of a faff for me. Get it out the shed. So I just love that we're running. You can just get out, and I just get more of an adrenaline from running than cycling.
Yeah. I think, like you say, with running, it is just put your shoes on and off you go. I mean, it doesn't matter what you wear, off you go, and you can do whatever you want, distance, can't you? And especially like you're living in Wales, there's so much countryside and around you, and I mean, that's what I love. I live just on the edge of Leeds, and we've got loads of fields and country parks and canals, and it's a privilege to be able to just run, and especially on my own. I love running on my own, me and my dog. And but I love then the other side of it. I love big crowds, because I'm quite a big park runner, and I'm an event director at my local park run, so I'm really involved with that. And it's like another family. It's like obviously I've got church, but it's another. I call it my running church family. You know what I mean? And it's just great. But yeah, so I'm the same. I just love to get out, shoes on my feet, and off I go. Brilliant.
I think that's one of the things I love about marathons, particularly London Marathon, is you don't realize the value in verbal encouragement. Is just what got me through that first London Marathon, when I hit the wall after about 16 miles. When you hit Canary Wharf, it's like, well, it used to be like a ghost town. It's a lot more crowded now with people cheering you on, but the atmosphere is incredible. How much, and it's great when you put your name on your running number, and they cheer you on by name.
Yeah.
Come on, Peter, you can do it. How much you see the best in people and them cheering you on. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just brilliant, isn't it? So where do you sort of go to church and things, Peter? You're obviously in Wales.
Yeah, I cross the border. I go into Chester to Audacious Church. So probably a lot of people have heard of our Manchester campus. And then about 6 years ago, we were so excited that Audacious felt to start in Chester. We met in the Crown Plaza Hotel for a few years, but now we're in an old furniture warehouse near Chester Football Stadium, which is having a bit of controversy, whether it's in Wales and whether fans can go to Chester Football Club. So we're just across the street from there. So yeah, it's an amazing, lively church. Very excited.
Are you involved in the church yourself? Are you involved at all in the church?
Yeah, so I'm on the photography team. So if you ever go on our Instagram or Facebook, I take a lot of the photographs. And we also are small group leaders. So yeah, that's really nice just to get to know people. So we run the small group in Buckley.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's brilliant. So it sounds like you're busy with your job and busy at church, and then it's fitting a bit of running and a bit of cycling in. So it's a busy man, isn't it? It's like a bit of juggling everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So what I'd love to know is, have you sort of got a favourite verse or a scripture or anything just to encourage us all? I mean, because I've no idea who'll be watching this. Obviously, I know there'll be a lot of Christian runners out there, but we keep putting these on YouTube, so anybody can click on and find out about different people. So have you got anything from the Bible that would encourage us?
Yeah, I would say I've been a Christian nearly 40 years now, since October 83. And one of the Bible verses that has always helped me in the highs and lows of life is Romans 8:28, which says, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. So whatever difficult circumstances you're going through, whether you've had a really tough time during lockdown or you've lost loved ones in the pandemic, that God somehow works all things together for good, that he uses bad things for his good. If one door closes, and it means the right door is going to open for you. So that Bible verse has always really helped me. I love that whole chapter, that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. I shared that Bible verse in a prison in Ukraine where I preached once, that these guys in their prison cells, no matter what they've done wrong, they could experience the love of Jesus right there in their prison cells. Nothing can separate us from the love of Christ.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you there. Well, Pete, it's been absolutely lovely. I've never met you before. I have heard you on the radio. Once I found out somebody on Christian Runners said, "Oh, we've got somebody who's on the radio who's joined Christian Runners UK," and I'm like, "Whoa, who's that?" And I do listen to UCB and Premier Praise and that. And then when I listened to, I think you were doing the news, and
that's right.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's what he sounds like." I'll have to interview him. So it's been.
I always remember we used to use mini disc recorders, and I attempted to run the whole London Marathon with a bum bag with a mini disc recorder, and every mile I would record an update. I can't believe I did that. It's hard enough to run the marathon, but to record updates every mile, and more and more by about mile 20, I could hardly talk.
What I found interesting when we did the Songs of Praise the other month, and the cameraman, obviously, they were filming us from all different angles, and sometimes they were like in front of us as we're running towards them. So the cameraman and the sound man were all running backwards. So we'd done that a few times, and then the camera guy said, "We'll have to stop for a minute. We're jiggered, we're tired." Yeah,
good work out for them.
I can appreciate that. Well, it's been a privilege, Peter, talking to you, and I pray that God will bless you in your work that you do, because that's an amazing work on the radio and with the Christian charity that you're involved with, and obviously where you're running. And I pray that God will heal you and sort your calf out, but definitely try them stretching and
Yes.
a little bit of physio work on you, and I hope that you try some park runs, because I think
I will do, definitely.
might be good for you. But no, lovely to meet you, and like I say, just God bless and everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the great work.
We'll keep trying. God bless.